Good evening, everyone. It is August 9th, 2023. Strap yourselves in because I think this is going to be a long one. Now, coming into today, what I was looking for was actually a small rotational session. I thought that we had done a great job holding this balance here. What I'd mentioned was that it was a little bit weird. We didn't close that lower gap, but all in all, if we were to reclaim 22s, what I was looking for was a move to the other side of balance around 45 or so. So I was really looking for a smaller rotational session, and clearly that did not happen. um, on the ES, the overnight attempted to give us a gap up. That's what I was looking for. Was some sort of gap up move, a false sell off to around settlement lows at 45.10 ish, something like that, and then a move up to 45. Instead, that gap up failed. We had a very tight initial balance, breaking the overnight low, and statistically, that meant that we were looking for a trend down scenario. To me, it was somewhere around 44.96 would be the first area I was looking to get long, somewhere around there. However, we just sliced right through it, and we got into that gap close. In terms of trades, what I was doing was, you can see over here that I was looking for expansion down to below 4,500. To me, the main trades I was looking for was something around here. I took the euro close long. Unfortunately, a break even came a point or two from scoring there. And then once we closed that gap finally at 78.5, I was looking for the previous day's low reclaim. So I was bid 82s, slid that up to 83, still no fill, and that's when we got this nice trend up all the way back up. And statistically, we were unlikely to break the IB high, and that's when I got short. And what I was looking for was a large liquidation, and that's what we had. We had this nice big liquidation in the final 90 minutes to, I think, no new low of the day, but pretty damn close. So NQ, similar story. Managed to get right below those 330s early in the day. I was looking for longs at around 300-ish. However, we were never able to reclaim that 300 spot. You can see it resistance there, resistance again. And instead we moved down to new lows on the week, broke this big trend line I have, and got into that kind of 140 area on the NQ, that being right around the 95% monthly value area low from whatever that is, July. So a nice sell-off on the NQ. And overall, the NQ is looking like the short ticker, if you want to call it that. So let's get into what I'm looking for coming into tomorrow. Now, the big news event obviously is going to be CPI. That is coming in at 8:30, and given we've made lower lows every day, right? So here's the Friday high, the Monday high, the Tuesday high somewhere in there, the RTH high somewhere around here, then the Wednesday RTH high a little bit lower. So we've been making lower highs ever since what was it, about Friday. So Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 4 days in a row of lower highs and making lower lows here, here, and here. So what I'm looking for is really for shorts to step in here. And if they don't, I think you're going to start getting that sort of drift up scenario up to about the highs of balance, so 45, 40 or higher. So to me, shorts really need to get stepping on this thing. Similarly, on the NQ, shorts need to keep this below about 340. 342, 331. That first half of the year's close at 331s, prior week's low 336, 95% yearly value area high from last year, 342s, weekly close 358s, etc., etc. I do not want to see this thing get over that big zone. Perhaps it's easier to see on a high time frame chart like this. I do not want to see shorts start to reclaim. There we go, something like this, right? If they do, I think you're starting to look up to this area up here, this balance over here, that level around 475-ish to 525. So that would be the last spot, in my opinion, for shorts to step in. So kind of two main sections that I'm looking at for shorts to step into this thing on the Nasdaq. Lower to the downside, I'd be careful being too eager to bid this thing up, but in my opinion, what I had coming into this week was that I didn't think we'd get a move below 15,000. The reason being that You have the -2 standard deviation of last month at 15,091. I think it would be unlikely to break that. This has also been the key lower kind of zone of interest since about mid-June. You've got a monthly low sitting at 15,064. Last week's VWAP, the -3 standard deviation at 15,061. So all this kind of crap sitting between 15,090 and 15,060. So, yeah, something around here-ish, right? 15,060 to 90, something like this, right? So I don't think we'll be breaking that. I just don't see it. That's just me. It is CPI tomorrow. Anything can happen. Anything's possible. I'm open to multiple scenarios. Just going to delete this. Now, we're already 5.5 minutes into this video. How am I actually looking at trading these things? Let's go ahead and start building some lines over here. Remove these current drawings, and let's start copying and pasting these in from another chart. Let's start from the short side, and we'll go from there. In terms of shorts, there we go, way up here. You're not going to see a lot of lines on this thing today. And the reason why is because I think you don't really want to be short on it if we do start breaking that kind of 20 area. In my opinion, the best shorts are going to be here, around 44.98 to 02 half. This is where we've constantly salvaged the bid repeatedly, and I think it's about time that shorts hold it. Speaking too soon, apparently, as we bid upwards. Now, to the long side, I think the most eager longs would be 75s. The 4 p.m. price close from over here this Wednesday session was also a nice place we offered on that Friday. Bid there, bids there. Below 66.5. This is the ADR lows. The average daily range lows, also a nice level. I'd be waiting for 62s to get tagged. The auction point of control of this breakout bar, so I'd be waiting for that. Below there, 58s long after a tag of the VWAP close and point of control from that Tuesday session. Below there, and I think you're really starting to get into where I'd be looking for roughly the low of the week to come in. 44.46 quarter, the -3 standard deviation of last week's VWAP. Below there, and I'd be waiting for a tag of 38. The monthly low, I believe, somewhere around there. Just checking on another screen, 44.38. Sorry, the point of control from that Monday session at 38. So I'd be looking to take somewhere around there long, perhaps. I think the real juicy long setups are going to be around 32 and 24. Reason being is that 24s are last week's low, so, or sorry, not last week, but the low of that July 10th week. So if you got a move into last month's low at 19.5, there's a weekly point of control and monthly point of control around 19 and 19.5. So if you let those get tagged, reclaim this weekly low at 24s, I think this becomes the juiciest of longs. And really, I think that's where you're putting in a weekly low, somewhere around here in this 19 to 40-ish box. So that's what I'm looking for on the ES. Mostly interested only in the short side below 02s. I think we've spent shorts have been trying to place the pressure here for Wednesday and Tuesday and Monday in this area. I think we're due for a higher move up. I think these would be actually quite aggressive shorts. I wouldn't be really surprised if what we should be waiting for is more so something like this, a tag of this auction point of control up from Friday's liquidation session and then getting short 50s. Above there, you're flirting with a gap close, you're flirting with some sort of signs of accumulation down here and a trend up move back into that higher time frame balance. This balance that I'd be discussing right here, this kind of 45 to 65, I think you'd be moving all the way up and getting into that gap close scenario. Nasdaq. Let's get into this. 9.5 minutes in. Sorry. On the short side, this is looking much, much better. Again, I'm mainly interested in the short side below these 342s, and then I think you're going to rotate up to 475 to 525, which becomes the second main interest on the short side. So let's pull up a 30-minute chart and let's start copying and pasting these levels over. 218 settlement lows after a tag of 239 and a quarter. 239s being the VWAP close, I believe. Yes, the VWAP close at 239s. Above there, a short 260 after a tag of the point of control. 260 has simply been an important place in general. That was also the 95% value area high from the first half of the year. Above there, 303s. This has been a critical level where we laid it down all day long. Perhaps after a tag of 323s, letting it run those stops around here and coming back below. Above there, and looking at my main short interest zone on the day between 320s and 350s. I discussed this earlier. The first half of the year is closed, the 95% yearly value area high, all that sort of crap. Above there, 433s are probably the most ambitious short, but I think really you want to wait for 468s after a tag of 480s, or 523s, or really 550s would be the highest that I'm looking to short this thing. Right around here and here. Above there, I think once again you're getting into a gap close scenario, which would be 730-ish. Below, that's a lot of short talk. Below, if we do get a scenario of a long setup, which I don't really think you will. After a run of yesterday's low, getting long 161s, that being the 95% value area low from last month, or getting long 91s or 65s, both of those after a tag of 63s, 63s being the July monthly low at 63 quarter. Below there, and I don't really think you want to be long. You're getting long below, and also the -3 standard deviation of last week's VWAP coming in at 15,061. So both 61s and 63s, the important sort of extreme number, and I just don't see this as a great idea to get long below there. This also corresponds with what I was saying in that I don't think that we get much below there. Sorry, these lines are copying from the other chart. But I don't think we're getting a move below 15,000. So I think this is the ideal spot to get long, will be sort of around here after we do run that prior month's low. 13 minutes, my God. I hope this makes sense. Hope it helps. I might refine this a little bit in the Twitter post and then before the market opens, obviously with that CPI print. I wouldn't be surprised if volatility is very high tomorrow, given how much this thing has just been swinging inside these balances. I am biased to the downside. However, if this thing starts to get above 340-ish, 350-ish, I think you end up trading around 475. Similar on the Nasdaq, similar on the ES. If you start to trade above 4502-ish, I think you start flirting with the idea of a trend up scenario above these guys over here into that Friday liquidation point of control at 45s, and perhaps even the upside gap close. So I'd be careful trading tomorrow, just given the news event, given that this thing could really start to get into sort of a up-only mode, and people have been very heavily shorting it the past few sessions, and just may lead to a squeeze. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Have a great night. Trade safe.